In this video, we'll make our dashboard page a lot better. We'll add a basic sidebar. We'll have a Discord themed sidebar inspired by Discord itself. When we hover over it, we get a tooltip. When we click on our icon, we go to the dashboard. When we click on the server here, a server, we get just the server name. And then when we click on plus, we can invite our bot. There we go. And then we get redirected back. Very cool. Let's get started. So we left off with a half-working OAuth system. So when we log in, boom, we go to a dashboard. Doesn't work. Well, it does work, but it's plain boring. I'm gonna fix that. So what are we going to do to fix that? Well, we're gonna add the sidebar. And I did record for 1 hour this morning. It kind of failed, so now I know what I'm doing. So we're gonna make sidebar.plug. So sidebar. Okay. And then here we're just gonna have an A tag that says test, because we're gonna put something. We're gonna put an A tag there. We have a plan going. So if we go into index, where are we going? So here it's index.pug because we have two indexes. It's quite confusing. Now we're gonna add the sidebar above the navbar, because if it's below, let's see what that does. So it's below. What? We don't want that. We want it above. Okay, we're getting somewhere. What? So if it's above, that means we can push everything else to the side. It can be a sidebar. That sounded like a joke, but there we go. So in assets, we're going to make sidebar.css. Okay, and then we're going to type sidebar. So in here, we're going to have a height of 100 view heights. And that's the entire length height of the screen. Remember, 100%. So, and then we're going to have a width, or a padding, sorry, of 10px. So that will just push things to the side. Now, we're going to import. In here, we're going to, I believe, in index, we're going to have, under index, even, we're going to have sidebar.css. Now when we refresh, we expect things to change. Okay, so what is going on? Padding is being added, cool. But because we set the height to 100 view widths, and it's taking up the entire screen. Why is it taking up the entire screen? Because we need to add something here, which is .float right and left, sorry. So we're gonna have a top part here with our icon. So if we go to href/dashboard, it's going to go there. We're going to have a dot icon here. It's going to have a dot round class, which we'll add in main. Dot round, we already have it. And then it's also going to have a shadow, which we'll add. It's a utils, okay. Just remember utils. Maybe you can have a utils.css if you want to be that specific. Float right is a utils, float left and float right. BG light, nearly forgot that one. So that makes the background more grey, so it stands out if we look. Oh, now we've removed it, but that's fine. So it stands out a bit more. So they're util classes, they just give styles very easily. Quite helpful. So we usually with utils classes, they overwrite the current styles that are applied, so they use important. We're gonna add that. So shadow. Shadow. So what do we do with shadow? Okay, so we type in tailwind CSS shadow. What do we get? Box shadow. So these have some cool CSS. This isn't like Bootstrap. I have to look into this one, but it's basically Bootstrap. Could be better. I have not used it. I've only used a few libraries, styling libraries. So we type box shadow. I usually stick with a few. I don't like to use lots of a wide range of them. So in sidebar.css, what we're going to do is we're going to define the icon. Now the icon, there's going to be an image within the icon. So the guild, so we're going to have a list of guilds. So list of guilds. It can have an icon, or else if it has icon, it's the best way of describing it, show icon, else show show short name. So let's use a name. So if your server name's like test server, we're using the abbreviation, so TS. Show abbreviation. So that's just a demonstration here. Let me show you that, what we're doing, for clarity. It's going to be like this. So you see test server becomes TS in its lowercase. Now we're going to have a font size here in icon of extra large. This is if they have an abbreviation here. Height 52 pixels, because that's the height in 2PG and Discord. So we're emulating Discord here. And then the .abbr, now this .abbr abbreviation. Abbreviating the abbreviation word, I guess, shortening it. So what I want to do here, what is this all about? So if I click, if you see the 2PG, we have a thing here. Now what is that thing? So if we click this, it takes us to dashboard. If we click, boom, dashboard. And it's very quick because it uses Angular routing, which is basically the page is loaded once. So it's loaded only when I refresh and everything's instant. Our dashboard's going to be slightly similar, but not as quick because of the server-side rendering limitation. So margin. Now we don't want that. I think it's .5 rem. That's how they define margin top or margin Y2. I think 2 is 0.5 rem in Bootstrap. We'll find out. So we're going to have in here, we're going to have the image, a round image. We don't even need .round, I don't think. We can have alt, user.username, source, user.avatar, URL, 64 pixels, refresh. Oh, look at that. So we can have that if we want. For some reason it ain't working, it is not working. Why is that? Okay. So .round is not working. Why is .round not working? Because we need to import our route defined in index. I'm not sure if it's index or not. We're going to have util routes apply everywhere. So we're going to go into header. And here we're going to add what is it? utils.css. Now what? Okay, I think we've added that. Utils. Oh yeah. Okay. Now what? It's not working. So if we type .round, let's see if that works. Oh, that seemed to work. Not sure if I like that extra margin there. Yeah. Let's see what that looks like now. Now that's a bit too far. Let's try 0.25 rem. So rem is root Now we've added this user image here. If we click it, we go to the dashboard. Now what? Let's add a HR underneath, horizontal rule, and then underneath that, what we're going to do is we're going to iterate over the guilds. Now that might be a problem. Why? Because we're not currently displaying any guilds. Oh, let's go into middleware. We're going to open middleware, and then we're going to open server. Okay, what is going on here? Hold on. Middleware and the routes, dashboard routes. Okay. So we're going to define a route. It's going to be server's ID. Now we're going to type dashboard here because I messed up something last video, which is I don't want /dashboard before everything, so we're going to remove that and add everything like this. Okay, cool. We need to make the res render dashboard show. And that will be the guild page, the last page, I believe, of the series, one of them, of this series, I believe. Show.plug. Okay, show.plug. Now what? So in here, we're going to copy the contents of index.plug in dashboard. We're going to type out horizontal rule, and then we're going to type p.lead, and then edit, manage your server configs with the 1pg dashboard or servers. Okay. Now when we look at that, what does it do? It says that, however, we want to get rid of index because we don't want that centered. Very cool. We also want this within a container here. So .container, you can type container jumbotron. Now what does it do? I'm going to have white space here. What? I'm going to have white space here like that. So we need to list the guilds. Also, before we do that, let's go into, well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the invite icon. Now, we don't have an invite route defined, do we? No, we don't. Okay, so router.get /invite res, and then we're going to redirect to a link like this, but we're going to customize it. We're going to change it. Okay, so it's going to look like, we're going to set this redirect URI here to /dashboard. We're going to keep this there. We're just going to change the scope to bot, and the prompt should be there. So there we go. That should be sorted. So now we're going to define a href /invite. Cool. And then we're just going to copy this and make it an icon. But the icon is an abbreviation. So it has text success, and it's a text center. Cool. And then in here, we add an a plus icon, basically. So now that just looks like that. We don't want an icon in this case, though. I think it looks better without the icon. Or we can just remove the shadow so you can't notice it. So it's unnoticeable. And then just so it's just an icon. There we go. Now we're going to list the guilds here. How do we do that? Well, in server.js we're going to type middleware, so once the user's validated, update guilds. Cool. So that doesn't exist. Why not? Because we haven't made it. So Bing middleware.update guilds. So we're gonna get the key. We're gonna make sure the key's there. Then we're just going to get guilds. We can just type that. Now, what is that going to do? That's going to make a mess. Here, where it says list of guilds, we're going to type each guild in guilds. And now we're going to have an ahref and an anchor tag with a href, and then we're going to have guild.id. Just going to have loads of these, and then we're going to have an icon, shadow, and it's going to just look like that. There we go. Just going to have an icon round with shadow, and then we're going to type if guild. So if guild, if it has an icon, so we're going to get onto that in a minute, so let's just display for now. Let's just try and display something. See what happens. Guild.name source guild.icon URL 64. So that's just a round image. Let's see what that ends up doing. We can move around here, I think. So get manageable guilds, off guilds. So these are off guilds. So off guilds, we're gonna make that. So const off guilds equals. There we go. And now off guilds as a map. What can we do with maps? So we're just going to get the guilds here. I'm going to return the guilds. We want discord.js guilds. So const bot equals require. We're going to convert them because we can do more with discord.js guilds. So off guilds. So for const. So we're going to iterate over the ID of, for ID of off guilds dot and keys. Now that's the ID. So for all the keys, if we look in keys, let's make sure the value the keys here. So what is off guilds dot keys? Obviously that's undefined at the minute. But so now Bing off guild.keys, we get an iterator, which is still not an array. It's closer to an array, but it's still not an array. It has less, it can do less than an array. So, but we can iterate over it still because it's called an iterator. For each ID, what are we going to do with it? We're going to get off guilds.get ID. So we get the ID. So that's the ID here. That gets an off guild. And then we can access the permissions. So permissions. And then we can type .has, which means has permission manage guild. So if we can manage, if the user that logged in has the permission manage guild in the guild. So we type off guild. We're gonna use, it returns a Boolean value. So it's Boolean, I believe. So I'm gonna type has is manager. So if is manager, so continue if it's not an is manager, if that makes sense. If it's not a manager, so, and then we can push it if it is, if they are a manager. So to push it, we type guilds. Now this is a different type of guild, discord.js guild. So we push bot.guilds.cache.get ID. Has, I meant includes. Hold on, let's refresh. Has, I think that's a discord.js property, so that's me getting mixed up with discord.js guilds, which we'll go on to. So, why are we using discord.js guilds? Simply because they have so many more properties here. We can do so much more with them. They, I think, have more power. Okay, so there's a chance that some of these guilds are undefined. So that's gonna, so we're gonna iterate over this and see what the guild is for each one. Because, oh, undefined. So some of them may be defined. We just need to wait for a miracle. There we go. So what that means is the bot needs to be in the guild. The Discord bot needs to be in the guild for the Discord to get the discord.js guild. The OAuth guild is the user guild. So it's different. The user that's logged in. So it's a bot guild. It's quite a simple concept actually. If no guild, or if no Discord guild, or is manager, continue. Now we refresh. Icon URL, so I made this mistake in the prototype. We're using icon URL, we're using icon URL capital, and it has size 64, dynamic true. So what dynamic true means is the guild can have a GIF. Cool. So there's a chance that one of these guilds might not have. I can't really test it here. There's a chance that the guild might not have an icon. Some of mine do not. Icon. So we type if guild.icon, I believe. So we're going on to discord.js guilds. We can forget about Discord OAuth for now. So icon, yeah, that's just if it has an icon that will be defined. So else, there we go. Else, we're gonna have a p or a span text center, and then abra abbreviation, and then I was going to type utils. So I had a method in the prototype. I had a method, but we don't need a method because we're using discord.js guilds. So if we're using a Discord OAuth guild, we need to convert the name into an abbreviation. We can just type name acronym. So guild.name acronym. Everything else looks good. Now we can get rid of this. There's the sidebar code. There it is. So now when we click on a guild, we just get indenting. There we go. Guild.name. Now there is no guild. So in dashboard routes here, we're going to pass in the guild, which is guild. Well, there might not be a guild, remember. So bot.guilds. Bot. So we're gonna require the bot. Obviously, hold on. We need to explain something here that's going on. So what this means is it's a request rec.params.id. So this can be anything, and rec.params.id, whatever this is, this here, it accesses the parameter value here. So if this can be any number or string, and this returns a string of what the value is there. So it will get the guild ID. We'll use that. So bot.guilds.cache.get. There we go. Done. Obviously, there might not be a guild there, and we're going to refactor that later. So 4PG test server, let's say we mess something up. Boom. It's going to have a problem. Also, let's quickly add some tooltips. So we want tooltips on the right. So what we do is we need 3 things here. So 3 attributes. So in sidebar, what we do, so we're only going to have icons here for here. We're going to have tooltips. We're only going to have tooltips for guilds. So we're going to have the attributes here, like that. Control D. Now we need to edit what is here, which is going to be dynamic guild.name. That's it. And then now we want a JS file here. So we want main.js, which is everywhere. And then we're going to copy the code, which is here. Oh, there we go. And now, obviously, this won't work, but that's specific. So we want all the elements. So we just type this. And this is, I'm just going to copy this. This is when the page loads, by the way, that this is called. That's cool. So let's import that header. So we're going to have a script tag here. And then we're going to name this main.js. And just JS really. Cool. And it's just main.js. Now, we have our tooltips. Very cool. Okay, so one thing I didn't add to the sidebar is this hover thing. It's probably going to be the longest video. It might be. But maybe the best. I don't know. We'll see. So sidebar.css, and we're going to have, so when we hover over one of these, so we're going to have icon.hover. So icon hover. We're going to have it here. So when we hover over an icon, we want the border radius to change. We're going to have 15 pixels, important. Or we can have 15%, which is probably better. So, oh, why is it so quick? Look at that. So we're going to have icon image hover as well, to be consistent, so they both hover at the same time. Look at that. But one thing I do not like is how quick it's going. So speedy. So what we do is we add transition. Ease. We're going to have it in ease in out. And then we're going to have 0.3 seconds. Transition border radius, we can type. So now when we look at that, it hovers nicely, I guess. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll add the ability to stop users from going to our page. We'll add some of the tabs here for navigating across our guild page. And we'll also have a 404 page, or if our guild does not exist, we'll stop people from going to our guild if they're not in the guild or cannot manage it. They'll not be able to go there, and we'll make this page a lot better. See you there.